All right. So, our final review of the day is going to be for the series Succession. This is a series that all of us have seen as well. This was a series that recently ended. It was an HBO series there. Again, much like The Bear, high praise. This won a lot of awards just recently at the Golden Globes, just recently at the Emmys. There are many of the actors from this. Yeah, considered one of the best shows on TV right now. One of the best shows of the 21st century. What is it about? So it's about this incredibly rich family, the Roy family, which the creator of the series, I think he said, pretty much modeled it after the Murdoch family, the owners there of Fox News. Um, and it's really controlling type family, one of the richest families in America, the United States, or even the world that we see in this show. And it's everybody kind of vying this. You have Brian Cox in this, who's the patriarch of the family, and then you have his four children. You have Connor, you have Kendall, you have Shiv, and you have Roman in this, and then all of them kind of vying for that top CEO spot when once their father retires, if he ever does retire. Mostly we're going to be talking about season 4 there. Not so much the rest of the season, but since that was the latest season 4, and the last season of the show, that's primarily what we're going to be talking about. But yeah, that's kind of the basic setup here, and you see it's basically Game of Thrones, but in a business environment. A lot of backstabbing, a lot of people kind of betraying each other, lying, going back and forth. You'll see a lot of that. You even have a character like who's played by Kieran Culkin, who makes a lot of even sexual jokes about his sister. So you even have a little bit of incest going on there for those vibes there with Succession. So I'm gonna go around. Nick, what are some of your thoughts on Succession here?
Yeah, with Succession, it's kind of incredible that you have a show that feels this tense, feels so funny, when at any moment these characters can just say fuck it and retire with billions of dollars. It is fantastic low stakes television in that sense. You have some all-time great performances. For me, Brian Cox as Logan Roy, it's an all-time performance from him, and the characters with especially with Jeremy Strong, who plays one of the most pathetic characters on television, and it's kind of insane.
Nathan, do you know about the high risk life of you learned about the bear within the kitchen? What about the high risk life of business backstabbing? $1 billion deal.
Obviously, I'm a member of the Rupert Murdoch family. So, I just and I got my own political podcast where we talk about world leaders. No, I don't know much about this world. I'm a sucker for corporate jargon in a boardroom. People saying insanely aggro things to each other, especially The Big Short, Jeremy Strong being like, that's a nice shirt. Do they have it for men? So getting into this series, which took a while for me to get on board with, and the first season, it's the thing about a great TV show outside of The Bear. It doesn't fully suck you into its world right away, but this is just such a great show. And now the more I look at it, the more I'm just like, it was a privilege to have this on for 3 seasons? Was it 3 seasons or 4?
4 seasons.
4 seasons. Every 4 seasons, it felt like when we had Mad Men on TV. You're just getting this elite writing. It's great cast. Not necessarily, talking about how great shows you develop a parasocial relationship with the cast. And you kind of have that for this, but these are all people who are at the precipice, all people who have been hungry for a while. It's not like it was the first time you've ever seen Brian Cox, and it's not even the first time you've seen Brian Cox be like this, but it might be the first time he's been handed material that is just so tailor-made to him. Same with Kieran Culkin. Same with, I almost just called him Kendall, but oh my gosh. Jeremy Strong. Same with Sarah Snook. Same with Alan Ruck. It's just such elite TV that we had on for so long. And do I know much about this world? No, but I was engaged in it every week. And, towards the end, people were talking about it like it was Game of Thrones. And unlike Game of Thrones, this
stuck the fucking landing.
Stuck the fucking landing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, this show is just fantastic. It was never my favorite show like The Bear or Better Call Saul was, just because those were so elite on every single level. But Succession was its own beast. It was something that we just, it's such a great show. That's just,
yeah.
I mean, we're talking about two winners tonight. And then Percy Jackson.
Yeah, with this show, Succession, seeing all these different characters, you're right to compare like to The Bear. It doesn't like have characters obviously you immediately relate to, and because I mean everybody in the show is an evil person. I mean, everybody.
Oh yeah, these are all awful people.
I mean,
they almost trick you at points into thinking you relate to some of them for a second, and they'll do something. You're just like, fuck this guy.
I mean, at the first episode of the show, Kieran Culkin does something so heinous that I wanted to see him, get the shit kicked out of him.
Like everybody in the show is, they're all evil people. Even somebody who you think is maybe the lesser of the evil person, they're still an evil person. Like the person who's probably maybe the less evil one is Shiv, maybe. But even, her is like, yeah, you're still a piece of shit too. And, throughout the seasons, a lot of it is, Kendall Roy trying to take down his father, trying to, finally usurp him and become the CEO of the company, which is like his one big mission and goal in life, is to be the CEO of this company. And you see him just over and over again, trying to do it. And like, it's like, man, can this dude even be defeated? I mean, he just loses time and time again. And you see Kendall Roy constily lose and then having to come groveling back.
Yeah, it's such a great moment in, I think it's either the third season where he has a conversation with Matthew McFadden and trying to, get him on Kendall's side. It's like, I have seen you get fucked over and over again. I have never seen anybody fuck Logan.
Yeah. I mean, there's one season where everybody's coming after them. The government is coming after him. Another company is coming after him. His son is coming after him.
Sir, the FBI is at the door. Tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, that's how powerful his family. He can tell the FBI to fuck off. He's like there, and then there's even a scene where he's got direct line to the president. The president calls him, and then he puts the president on hold. He's like, I will wait for a second, let him sweat it out, and then I'll pick up the phone. That's just how powerful, this kind of family is. And you see kind of how much the show mirrors real life. There's much in season 4. It's much about politics. There's an election year that's going on in this season. You see how some of the politicians in the show very much mirror real life politicians. Like you see like a Bernie Sanders type figure here. That was also very much on in the earlier seasons because Shiv, you see that her career there, because she's not a person who actually works for the company. She's one of the siblings that don't actually has anything to do with the company. She worked in politics. She was a political consultant there. So she's a political consultant for one person who's kind of like a Bernie Sanders figure. You see in season 4, there's also like a Trump-like figure here as well. You see a figure who with Alan Rook, even he runs as Connor, like as a third party candidate who very much kind of is a RFK type of figure. They're like this crazy third party candidate, who comes from a family of privilege but likes to pretend he isn't. And Alan Rook, and also he's the eldest son there, who's the most forgotten son of the family.
He's the one who wants nothing to do with the whole company.
Yeah, he just wants the money. Like he's one of the like if more of them were just like Connor, they'd probably be a lot happier. Just like, hey, I just want to fuck off and just get the money. I don't really want to be involved in the everyday business and all that other stuff. I just want to kind of fuck off and get the money. Yeah, if you saw that. And then also, but the age gap between him and Brian Cox is only 10 years. It's like not really that big of an age gap because Alan Rook is 67 and Brian Cox is 77. So you do have that. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things there. But yeah, I would say so. That's kind of mostly with the Connor character. Who would you say is some of your kind of favorite character that you enjoy watching there, Nick?
Probably my favorite character is Tom. Tom, who's played excellently by Matthew McFadden. He's kind of the outsider looking into the family. He marries Shiv at the end of the first season. He's comes from a more middle class background, so he sees all this insane wealth and he wants a piece of that. But his arc on the show, it is pretty much as a cuck to Sarah Snook, and it is so sad to watch. He is one of the saddest characters on television. And his dynamic with cousin Greg, who's played by Nicholas Braun, it's some of the funniest stuff on television.
Yeah, they provide a lot of the comedic relief of the show. What about you, Nathan? Who do you like?
I mean, he kind of stole my answer with Tom. Tom is one of the most like well-layered, like, you know, he will always be that character to me. And a lot of these characters will, like, my impression of Brian Cox will always be fuck off, you know? Same with Jeremy Strong, where it's like, well, dad, you know, where it's just, it's all
I just
that.
wanted to bring everybody in here to say, yo.
This is the shiz. No. No, I can't. I mean, Sarah Snook is fantastic. Kieran Culkin, obviously, this season has gotten a lot of acclaim. It is interesting to see the different levels on him. Even the guest star list, like Fisher Stevens coming in. I think you talked about it in a chat earlier, but Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, yeah, who comes in very late into the show, but he fits in so well with this, with the writing. He plays Lucas Matson, who's a Swedish CEO who's trying to buy their company.
Who very much is like a Elon Musk type figure there that they're trying to portray. Obsessed with Twitter. He has this image of being like this top-notch coder, but it's like, no, that was all an image created for him for people to believe that he's like some super genius. It's like very much so there.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really like respected, and it's the thing that HBO can do, is the like locations that you see in the show have the same scale that you would expect the wealth to actually have. And it really helped me get more into the world. Just as something that, not sure if y'all didn't bring up. I brought up just picked up an Uber Eats order in between all of this. But yeah, no, it's just such well-written TV. And you brought up how it's like, it's Kendall trying to take down his dad, or it's the kids trying to take down the dad, or, you know, whoever, the FBI trying to take down the dad. It could fall into the trap that I think The Boys has fallen into, where it's like, oh yeah, we need to take down Homelander, and the last episode will be like 3 people in a room, and then somehow they get out of it. This show knew exactly how much story it had left. And it could have gone on for longer, but I respected so much more for going out on its own terms.
Yeah. 4 seasons usually I like, you know, I feels like a good amount of time to tell a story and to kind of wrap everything up. I think with the whole kind of taking down the dad, the aspect, I don't know. I talked to Nick about this of like, does it get a little bit repetitive of like every time, like, you know, there's a plan that happens and then it kind of goes awry, or last minute, you know, something happens where he just kind of makes it out. And you bring up The Boys, and that's kind of a good example there of like someone with a Homelander, because that's always the season of Homelander. It's like he's the big villain, and it's like, okay, how are we going to do something where we don't defeat him in this season, and there's some way around it. You know, do you ever feel like that? Sometimes can get a little repetitive in terms of the seasons.
For me, it's a case of, yes, this kind of story structure is a little repetitive. However, it always serves to kind of make Logan seem like this very much larger than life figure. This guy who has so much money and power that he can put the president on hold.
Yeah. Do you ever, so you think that, Nathan, it kind of it doesn't go into that trap? It's not repetitive at all. It does a good job of kind of avoiding that.
I think it's by nature of the characters always being very different. I mean, there are only 2 seasons that kind of end that way out of the 4. And in the 2 seasons, they all have their own sort of verve. And in the second season, it feels kind of like a win, where you're like, oh my God, Kendall, oh, he did it. Yeah! You know, you spend this season with him. You don't even think he's on that pursuit at all. He's got his whole Manchurian Candidate thing. And then the third season is a slow build to that. But The Boys is like, I mean, just as the comparison points ago, The Boys also a really good TV show. A TV show similar to The Bear, where we've created social relationships with the actors. Not so much, you know, but regardless, The Boys has so far always ended with that sort of ending. The Succession managed to reverb it, remix it, and they only remixed it the once, and then we're out. And it seemed like that was going to be where the show was going to go for most of season 4. And then the show went a totally different direction and found a perfect ending there. And
yeah. So we are going to be talking about, like I said, season 4. I don't know, probably not spoil it because I don't know if many people have seen it there. Just to give people a surprise they're watching it. But yeah, I mean, it did go a different direction. And you see a lot of, like, with Brian Cox, who is Logan Roy, the patriarch of the family, just how much manipulating and gaming he does, within his own kids, of dangling the CEO position in front of them like a carrot, and of like who's gonna, like who he wants to kind of take it on. And you see that creates so much division amongst the siblings there, of like, there's times where even you think, okay, if all of them just get on the same page, they can finally do it and finally get it done. But it's just, they fight amongst themselves of who is going to be the CEO, who is going to be the right one to do it.
It's constant characters getting in their own way, like you were bringing up, Nathan, with the bear, and just the levels of self-sabotage that go on with the Roy children. It's hilarious, but also very deeply sad.
Yeah, because you see that each of them has their own, like, issue if they were to become CEO. Like, you see that with Roman's character. I mean, he's stuck in Arrested Development. A lot of them are already stuck in Arrested Development already, but you see even more so with Roman, who he always makes the crudest jokes. He always refers to something sexual. He's got a weird issue with sex and everything like that.
But in a weird way, he's kind of the most emotionally well-adjusted of the kids until the last season.
I think he grows the most in the last season, and when it comes to his realization of, I think he is content with everything more than probably anybody is, because this is a show that there's not going to be a big winner. Like, nobody really wins. In
the thing that they win is just insidious. It's something that we all know is bad, and if you don't know that it's bad, you're watching the wrong fucking show.
And when you see it, it's like, I mean, he's just kind of content of like, it's over, it's done. There's nothing more we can do. And I think he's at most content with everybody else. I mean, with the ending in the show, you say it sticks to landing, which is always with a show. If it starts off really great, it's like, okay, how's it going to end? And do you think it has one of the better endings that you've seen in a while, or you think it's just pretty good? Or
it's kind of like the Wire's ending for me, where I think of the ending fondly, but I think more of the whole show than anything. I mean, like something like Better Call Saul, or like trying to think of like some of the like great or Leftovers. That I think about the finale. I think about the final moments where I last left those characters. When I think of Succession, I think of all the stuff in between, all the stuff on the journey.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
For me, this is probably one of my favorite series finales. Everything that goes about it, it's all massive. It's all completely paying off everything that went on throughout the entire run of the show. And I don't want to give away what the ending is, but looking back on it, there was no other way that the show was going to end.
Yeah. Up and down. I mean, everybody does an amazing job in this show when it comes to performances. I think it does stick the landing. It does have a good ending there, which works really well. Any kind of really super low points for you in the show, you think, there, Nathan? Or
I mean, it's as much as like just trying to figure out the what show I was in for in the first season. I would argue like the first couple episodes took a while for me to adjust, but I'm sure like a lot of shows where I felt like that, I could just go back and I'll be like, oh man, Kendall's just killing it in this scene. It's just a really, really good show that we were privileged to have on for 4 years. I have very uncomplicated feelings towards it. It was just really, really well made show, and we don't often get we rarely ever get shows this elite. I mean, we're talking about The Bear, but Succession is great in a completely different way than The Bear.
Ready from Tristan, did it feel like Fall of House Usher was capitalizing on the show's success?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Which family was the Fall of House Usher based on?
That was based on the Sackler family.
Sackler family. Yeah, I guess I could see that with the Fall of House Usher. Yeah. It's kind of capitals on that. I mean, I tell you, no rich family will ever be the Bluth family. I think that's still top tier. No one will ever be them. But yeah, I think that with this show, I could say that with I could see that definitely. But that seeing rich people be fucked up is, I mean, who doesn't like seeing that? It's a story as old as time. Rich people fucking up and being fucked up. Yeah, issues with
Yeah,
all of them. Oh, wait, go ahead.
it's also a pretty brave show, just in general, to just be able to just be about these people when we hated them at their very most. Like Veep kind of fell into the trap towards the end of it, where you just see like here are the horrible people that work in politics, and then politics would show up and be like, "Hey, we're even worse and we're even more comical," And you'd be like, "Damn, I wish I was living in the Veep world."
Yeah. So about final thoughts rating for Succession there.
Oof, one of the best written shows on television. Perfectly balances that tone that we talk about, where you balance this very intense and very human drama while also saying some of the funniest shit I've ever heard in my entire life, especially with the characters of Tom and Greg. And also having just absolutely beautiful moments between the cast. I think what stands out is how unafraid the show is to take risks. Like the third episode of the final season, Connor's wedding, it's one of the bravest and ballsiest moves to change the structure of your show in its final season, and it absolutely pays off. This is one of the best runs of television I've seen in my entire life. I can't give this anything but this cinema.
One of the best shows of the 21st century, you think?
Oh yeah. If at the very least, the one that has stuck with me since I've watched the final season months ago.
Nice. Nathan, what about you?
This is cinema. It's easy enough. This is just great television. Something that I'm not sure that we're going to get anything quite like it in a long time. A lot of people were looking for like the successor to Mad Men. Everybody was chasing the ghost of Breaking Bad when it ended, but Mad Men has really been the one that everybody's been chasing. The Americans kind of had it for a little bit. This show certainly had it. Just elite television that, deservingly won Best Drama, but it's kind of funny. I feel like you could have swapped the win for The Bear and Succession. Because I think more about laugh lines in Succession than I do about The Bear, and I think more about the drama in The Bear than I do think about the drama in Succession,
Yeah. I mean, these are some...
I am surrounded by snakes and fucking morons!
He did not fire me. He said it was just going to take a little longer.
What I think he meant to say was that he wished that Mom gave birth to a can opener, because at least then it would be useful.
And Kieran Culkin always, I mean, he's pretty much got a lot of the best ones in here, and line deliveries there in the show. Yeah, I mean, this is cinema. I mean, amazing show, amazing piece of television that you don't get too often. And it's amazing to get to kind of experience that. I do definitely think it's one of the better shows of the 21st century. I'm glad that, 4 seasons came in, did really well. It's a show that a lot of people talk about. You see, like, I think Cillian Murphy said it was one of his favorite shows there, and he watches it. So yeah, it's definitely a show that interests a lot of people, and you can definitely see why if you watch it. Available on HBO. If you wanted to give it a watch, I highly recommend it. We all highly recommend it, very much so there. And this is very good to see Brian Cox, and all his kind of greatness there.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
I mean,
nobody chews up the line "fuck off" like Brian Cox.
I mean, he says it better than I've ever heard anyone say it. There, I think, fuck off. Maybe that should be his like motherfucker, like with Samuel Jackson. Like, it should be his thing. So yeah.
Well, it's going to be like when Jesse Pinkman or when Aaron Paul says bitch in a movie. Yeah, just people are like, I get it. Yeah, bitch.
Yeah. So, 3. This is for Succession.
This
Ray
is
from Jews.
great television we talked about tonight.
I feel like something has earned its place in pop culture when others try and piggyback. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
true. Yeah. I wonder, what will be the Succession ripoff or the Bear ripoff, or if you see that coming down the line
I
there.
think it's pretty easy to do a Succession ripoff. It's kind of hard to do a 1-to-1 with the Bear.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, with the Succession, it's probably easier to piggyback off of the success of that. We talked about that with Fall of the House of Usher, a show I liked, but you can very clearly see how inspired it was by Succession.
yeah. It's like when Jon Favreau did Chef and then Bradley Cooper did Burnt. It's like, we see like which is the lesser one by a mile there.
The lesser one is Burnt, by the way.
Yeah,
I
it is.
mean, he still has put in his time. He had that Philly cheesesteak truck for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.